Welcome to the Trader a Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew, a writer working in unscripted TV development, and this podcast is dedicated mainly to English-speaking versions of The Traitors, although we have covered The Traitors India and some other reality strategy shows like Netflix's Million Dollar Secret and ITV's Genius Game. This season of the podcast is dedicated to Season 3 of The Traitors Canada. We will be analysing every episode, diving into the gameplay and the tactics, and I'll be joined on every episode by my co-host, David Bloomberg. David, it's almost like we just left one another moments ago on another podcast.
That's so weird. It's so weird. That's just how it goes. It feels like time flies.
Absolutely. David, tell us a bit more about you in case people have no idea who you are.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know me, I have been covering reality TV for over 25 years, 10 years on podcasts, before that on websites and newspaper columns, etc. And I post also reality TV videos on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as at David Bloomberg TV. So, and of course, talk here a lot.
Yes, and although you and I will be on every episode of this season, we will also be joined by a couple of other guest co-hosts at various points. So sometimes there will be three of us here, including at least one actual Traitors Canada contestant. I will not reveal who that is just yet. Normally, I also introduce our podcast game at this point, the Trade Our Traitor. I'm going to give it a little semi-retirement for a while. We're going to put it to rest. Well, I think we'll bring it back for the finale, but we've been lying to each other a lot, David, and it's tearing me apart. I can't deal with the guilt.
I think it's tearing you apart because last time on the Traitors Canada, I beat you. So
No,
I think that's probably
nothing
why.
to do with that. How dare you suggest that? How dare you question my integrity? So, listeners, if you're desperately missing the game, I'm very sorry. You could send me a lie in a YouTube comment and then let me believe it, and later on reveal, haha, I tricked you.
Or maybe we'll just lie in here and not tell each other and not tell
Yeah,
the
maybe
listeners. Yeah.
yeah, why not? That's always fun. So instead, we're going to go to a couple of listener comments that I have in reference to things we discussed on the previous episode. So we talked a little bit about Chala and how Chala made this comment when talking to Meredith saying, well, I'm a faithful, obviously. And you and I were saying, why is that obvious? Is it really obvious that Chala didn't want to be a traitor? And we couldn't quite remember Chala's conversation with Karine in episode 1, but a couple of listeners reminded us of the truth. So She's a Doozy on YouTube said, yeah, we saw Chala telling Karine they wanted to be a faithful. And then we saw them sigh in relief in a confessional after the shoulder tap twist was revealed. I think someone else also had sent a comment or a message saying the same thing, so thank you for keeping us right. She's a Doozy also sent me a message all about the accents in the show. I was saying that Shaughnessy had this sort of, to me, Irish twinge, and is that something to do with the part of Canada that she was from? So apparently, yes, it's kind of on the right lines. She's a Doozy says, there's a Canadian sitcom on Hulu, actually, a Crave original that Hulu bought, called Letterkenny, which is about a small town life in Canada. Sometimes their accents do sound a bit Irish. Letterkenny isn't a real Canadian town, but it is the name of a town in Ireland. And it's because there were a lot of Irish immigrants to certain parts of Canada during the famine. This makes sense. Newfoundland is the part of North America that's just geographically closest to Ireland. So it was the first place they came to. This all makes sense. Amanda also sent me a message on Instagram to let me know the same sort of thing, and sent me a really funny link to a TikTok video with some guys discussing their mind-blowing accents. I mean, I think I'm pretty good at understanding people, but these guys, it was hilarious and really tough to follow what they were saying, but very enjoyable. Thank you for that, Amanda. I do love an accent. We've got one or two more listener thoughts or questions possibly later. Maybe have you got a comment for now as well?
It's related to the whole issue that we started talking about. It's the Shaughnessy issue. Because when we were talking about that, we had mentioned that Curtis and Kevin pronounced Shaughnessy as Shaughnessy. And well, Curtis heard that and realized, maybe I am getting it wrong. I'm not sure. So he checked with her and made a video about it. And indeed, as we originally thought, Shaughnessy is Shaughnessy. So, but like we were talking about, he misheard her accent the first time she introduced herself, and so he just went with that. So, thank you, Curtis, for the follow up on that.
Yes, and I think Curtis or someone else does know someone called Shaughnessy, which made things
Yeah.
even more confusing. So, yes, it was nice to hear Curtis's video and to know that he's listening to the podcast. Hello.
Yes.
As are at least one or two other players from this season. I'll come to that a wee bit later. But I think we're ready to get into episode 4 for now of Canada Traitors Season 3. Here we go. To start with, we've got a recap. We reminded that there was a very early in the season death row mission, which introduced a traitor's first, the possibility of a traitor being murdered in a mission. And these traitors wisely opted not to take part, and in the end it was Mackenzie who was killed off here. At banishment, Asfear was eliminated for being too big a fan of the show, and all the while Kevin is determined to get fellow traitor Coco out, for some reason that even after episode 4 I'm still not sure of. And on the kill list at the end of the ep were Shaughnessy, Cara and Kitten. On the most recent episode of the podcast, I predicted Kitten for murder and Hollywood for banishment. David, you predicted Cara for murder and Hollywood for banishment. Not that I'm bringing that up to make you feel bad or anything about
Not
your
for
predictions,
any
David.
reason. Yeah.
No. So at the Pure and Simple sponsored breakfast, Lisette comes in.
Well,
She's
okay,
pissed.
I have to interrupt already because we've been talking about this breakfast. And so as soon as it started, I paused it and I looked. And there were eggs, breakfast potatoes, pancakes. It looked like bacon and sausage. There was eggs Benedict there. It looked like there were fruit smoothies. Now, see, if we were playing the line game, I could have thrown something in there. You'd never know. I am telling you, players in other Traitors franchises must be incredibly jealous and being like, production, why did you not get a sponsorship from a breakfast restaurant?
Right, right. Yes, there'll be future contestants will be hoping that this is the way forward because
Yes.
it looks delicious. Absolutely. So Lisette comes in with a couple of others. She's pissed about the banishment of Asfear and says there were no facts. People just reckoned he kind of looked like a traitor and messed up things about seasons he couldn't remember.
And there
Sarah
were
Nicole,
10 pieces of evidence against Chala. No, there aren't 10 pieces of evidence against Chala. And Lisette, have you watched this show before? I mean, really, it's like with no evidence. I mean, they listed what little evidence they had. It was wrong. It's usually wrong.
yeah, yeah, and the evidence. I mean, it's just absolutely depends on what you think evidence is in
Right.
this game, but at least they had a kind of a reason. Well, he said one thing to one person, but then he said something different about traitors in putting themselves onto death row. And I do
Yeah.
get the logic behind it. They thought,
Yeah.
well, if he's a traitor, maybe for some people he wants to downplay the likelihood of that. And so there was at least some rationale behind it.
Right.
It just happened to be wrong. Sarah Nicole adds to this and says, well, she says that he flip-flopped. I think she's talking about the traitor's statistics memory, and also says he didn't speak enough. Lisette is convinced that Meredith will be murdered in an attempt to frame her, so thinks that Meredith won't come back. And meanwhile, Coco's here just loving this. Like, hey, Lisette is creating so much chaos. This is great for me. I don't need to do anything. Quite right. We have Omer returning, and the next group seems very happy. But, he has his Tracer Angel. Maybe this is this further proof that for him, in his mind, that he's, the more mornings he shows up, well, it won't, spoiler, it won't be able to happen much more beyond this episode. But, every time he turns up to breakfast, I wonder if it's just sort of reiterating that, yes, he does have a Traitor Angel, and Kevin is a traitor. And So this, I'm sure, is just affirming what he already believes.
Yeah, but remember, we've had lots of people who, I mean, I'm not saying this about him at all, but we've had lots of people with main character syndrome who are like, oh, the only reason I'm here is because I'm a friend of this person. So I
Yes.
mean, it's not really evidence, but yes, in his case, it is the truth.
Yes, that's right. Lisette talks again about facts, and yeah, this is what you mentioned. Wants to know
Yeah.
why did Chala vote for me? And Chala just sort of was like, well, why don't we talk about it later? Maybe not right now and at the breakfast table.
Yeah.
And it's part of Chala's new sort of mission is to not have so many discussions in front of lots of people and make themselves a target. They say that later in the episode too. And meanwhile, Jamal is just sort of bored of this facts chat, and so am I, Jamal. And it comes up again later in the episode. The facts. We have to talk about the facts. Rhea is here and runs down the players who are not back yet. It's basically Venus, Traitor, plus the three murder potentials from the end of episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
Next in, sorry, David, Kara returns. Your prediction, which made sense. She sort of featured quite heavily in the edit towards the end of the last episode, but here she is back again. And while they're waiting for the others to arrive, Sarah Nicole cleverly observes that the paint, maybe other people have noticed this, we just don't see it in the edit, but has noticed that the paintings out in the hallway probably represent the various challenges for the season. There's a burning bridge, check, we've had that. There's a ladder going down into a pit, yep, we've seen that. But there's also a chessboard, we've not had that yet. When will that be appearing? And there's probably other pictures. I would love to know what they cut out of this edit. It would be great if there were pictures that were nothing to do with the challenges. Yeah. And she's like, I saw a picture of the Mona Lisa. Maybe she's going to be here.
Yeah. Well, that's why she told Thompson, because he has a big brain.
Yes, very smart.
He can figure it out.
Yeah. Like, what did she need him to figure? Like, she's already figured it out herself.
Yeah,
What do you need him for? Yes, I checked what his job was again, because I'm still, I'm not familiar with all of the players. I know some of them are celebrities in some sense. So I'm not totally sure who are the supposed famous people and who are the normies. I think Thompson is just a sort of regular person. He's a global brand manager. That's his job. But yeah, she wants to align herself with him, and she thinks he's smart. Venus arrives next. Hollywood isn't surprised, thinks that she has some tracer energy. Meredith, on the other hand, is on a different train of thought and says she thinks that the traitors are keeping Venus around because she got a little bit of heat at the round table. So Meredith obviously thinks that Venus is actually a faithful. Door knocks. It's Shaughnessy. Ding, ding, ding. Point to Matthew. Woohoo. It means that Kitten is gone. Chal is worried because Shaughnessy voted for them last night, so thinks that there's some sort of set up here to keep Shaughnessy in deliberately to, something like that. There's a flashback to the traitors last night. They basically decide that Kitten is popular and loved, and it'll throw the other players and it'll confuse them, hurt the group morale. We see this a lot on the show and in this season particularly. Is that a worthwhile strategy? Like, is that the best way to pick murder victims?
I don't know that there is a best way, but I have to say I felt bad for Shaughnessy because Coco was like, well, Shaughnessy isn't there. It'll be like, ah. And if Kitten isn't there, it'll be like, oh my God. So it's like, wow, Coco's just taking random shots at people, like the boring people and other things he has said. So, I mean, yes, I do think kind of the random appearing strategy is the way to go, because otherwise, they can detect a pattern and they can, I mean, we've seen it before where they're like, oh, they're taking out all the strong people. They're taking out all the housewives. They're taking out all the women. Now, some of those weren't actually happening, but they believed they were. And so, if you just take out seemingly random people, then it's harder to track it down.
Yeah. Unless you've got a really great way of framing someone else, or
right.
Of course, there's the most obvious. Well, I'm saying obvious. I think it's obvious. Is And this applies to Kitten, probably. Get rid of the players who you think will never be banished. They're sort of so trusted and liked.
Right.
You cannot picture anyone ever seriously voting for them. So this is the only way you're going to get them out of the game. Back to breakfast. It is kind of working. A couple of the players are confused. They say the traitors are doing well. They're shocking everybody. So I guess they've got what they wanted. We head off from, and but I should add in here. Last time I was so oblivious. I said, "Hey, how did they know that no one else was coming back?" And we had a listener confirm as well. I think on a YouTube comment saying, "Yes, Matthew, there's always this clock gong at the end of breakfast to signal that that's the end." I just didn't notice this, and I watch so many of these shows, they all mix up in my head.
Right. I do want to say when they're talking about how great the traitors are doing, Venus speaks up. "No, stop complimenting them. Stop, and then other people are like, "Oh, but if we compliment them, they'll get
sort of complacent and
complacent." And it's like, but you're talking about this in front of them, whoever they may be. As it happens, you're talking about this to one of them. But yeah, it's just funny. They're acting like the people there. It's like, the traitors can't hear us, but we're going to talk about this,
Yeah, absolutely. Round I usually call this section like castle chat, castle discussion, but I realize it's not castle; it's a mansion or a manor. And then I called this manor musings. But there's actually a traitors like Instagram page. It's called. I think I've stolen their name. They don't post very much. So
okay, here's what I call it: after breakfast.
I like to have like a alliterative, catchy name for it, David. Manor moments, we'll call it. Manor moments.
Beyond breakfast.
Beyond breakfast, that's nice. So beyond breakfast, Meredith and Chala have a quick sort of meet up. They're looking at Lisette, not surprising because she was so vocal at breakfast today. I think Lisette's quite vocal a lot of the time by the looks of it. And Meredith also thinks that Shaughnessy's breakfast reaction upon arriving seemed too forced. Maybe it was a bit fake. We see Venus and Omer briefly discuss Coco and her big brother past. This keeps coming up. Venus, in confessional, or Miv, as I like to call it, asks, why is Kevin so obsessed with getting her out? It's too soon. And I agree, and continue to agree. And for the rest of this episode, maybe I'm missing something, but yeah, we're episode 4. I think at this point in the game, just concentrate on breaking down the faithful. Try and get rid of them. They're not on the chances of them getting a traitor are quite little just now. Just let that play out. Why am I missing something, David? Why is Kevin so obsessed with Coco?
Well, I may have some things to say about that in my final thoughts.
Okay.
It may play into the way this episode turns out. Who knows? We wouldn't want to spoil the ending or anything like that. So,
is it because he doesn't want another traitor whose name starts with the same sound as him, Kevin and Coco? Is it as simple as that?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Good reasoning.
Yes. By the way, with Meredith and Chala, I believe Meredith said she worried Chala may be a traitor.
She did. Actually, both of them have suggested at some point they're not above thinking that their partner could be a traitor. Yeah, that's right. Meanwhile, in the house, Sarah Nicole is talking to several people about Venus's breakfast behaviour, also thinks maybe it was too forced and fake, including Coco and Kevin. Of course, they're traitors. They're hearing someone talk about their fellow traitor. And Kevin, I don't quite... Maybe you have to be there to fully appreciate that. Maybe it doesn't translate on TV. Kevin thinks that Sarah Nicole is basically begging to be recruited, and this is her way of doing it. And he sort of says, I'll think about it. And Venus also says something like, she's really irritated and says the way that Sarah Nicole is playing the game is so transparent. Does she also mean what Kevin means? Like, she clearly wants to be a traitor?
I don't know. She just says she's getting pissed off at her, and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's possible also that because when she walked in, she walked into the conversation between Sarah Nicole and Kevin, and suddenly Sarah Nicole flipped the switch and was, it's shifting to say, "Oh, I trust you both." It's possible right after that Kevin said, "Yeah, she was just talking about you." So that
Okay,
may be the part where she sees through it and it's pissing her
right.
off.
That makes more sense. Right. We've also got Jericho and Thompson now looking at the corridor paintings, and yes, they spot all of the chess references, and almost immediately we cut to the giant chessboard. It's time for the mission already. It seems like it's right outside the manor. They don't have to go far. Kareen is waiting in a sort of sci-fi Kylie Minogue Padam Padam outfit. David, this reference may mean absolutely nothing to you. A big cohort of our listeners I know are thinking the same thing. The players all come out carrying either a black or a white flag. So Kareen tells them that the traitors have divided them up into clearly faithful and potential traitors. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me that the traitors
Yeah,
probably didn't really do that. They've just tried to mess with them
right,
by
right.
ordering them in certain ways.
Yeah.
Some of the players are quite shocked about the role they've been given, like Rhea and Chala. And yeah, again, I I would I would think that as a faithful, he'd realize that like they're just they're just messing with us. They're trying to get
Right.
in our heads and make us doubt one another. They're not really reflecting reality. However, Shaughnessy is the sort of leftover. I don't know. It seemed like they were probably surely they were going to ask her to do something at some point in the game. Like they weren't just going to make her watch the whole thing, were they? Like this doesn't feel right.
I don't know. I don't know what else she could have done.
Like I don't know if at the end they were going to I don't know, get her to choose one person in the winning team to not receive a
Because they
shield.
could have
Or
done
I don't
that.
know.
I mean, it what happens next is Jericho doesn't feel well, so he swaps with Shaughnessy. They didn't have Jericho do anything, even
Yeah.
though, I
So
mean, I didn't pay attention. I imagine he stayed there with them. He just didn't feel like he could stand out there in that hot Scott. Wait, no, this is Canada. It's not the. I was going to make a joke about Scottish weather, but no, I'll make a joke about Canadian weather instead. The hot Canadian sun out there. See this.
yeah,
Can't remember where we are.
yeah.
Uh,
Too
but
many seasons happening at the same time.
well, and they all should be filmed in a Scottish castle. Let's just be honest here.
Absolutely.
So yeah, uh, so yeah, it's kind of funny that this is the week we decided not to play the game where we lie to each other because that's what this mission is.
Yeah, I know, and it's it took me a moment to sort of figure out what the mission. I
Right.
couldn't quite follow Kareen's description of it. So, but when it started playing out,
Yeah.
okay, I get what's going on. It's not the same chess game we've seen before in the Traitors.
Right.
It's all about true, false statements about one another. You're trying to fool the other team into guessing wrongly about the statement you read out. I mean, there's only so much you're in control of there. I guess it's just about the way you read it out.
Right. And
Like you,
that's part of the problem to me. This isn't a here's a truth we want you to tell or make up a lie. Like there are some games like that where you can make up whatever lie you want. This is
yeah,
a lie we have chosen for you.
yeah,
So like it could be something ridiculous. I taught pigs how to fly. Now I don't think any of them are quite that bizarre. I think that the let me see. I
there's
think that
just there's a skydiving one.
well, but that turns out to be true.
Yeah,
I think that yeah, they don't. I do think production did a pretty good job with these. They are all within the realm of possible truth, I
yeah.
believe. So yeah, Venus is the very first one. I'm an experienced skydiver. I would have gone false with that too, but no, it's true. And Chala is immediately eliminated. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I guess all you can do is, if you look at your statement and you know it's true, you'd have to maybe like read it out and giggle a bit or laugh as if you
Yeah.
can't believe this ridiculous thing that you're
Right.
reading and make
Yeah.
them think that you think it's funny, or do the opposite. You read something and it's false and somehow try and convey like
Right.
oh yeah, like I'm going to read this in a way that suggests
Hmm.
I've told some of you this already, and it's obvious, and you know it's right, and but there's not that much she could do to really affect it,
Yeah.
I don't think. So yes, we've got Venus's skydiver one. The white team say it's false; they get it wrong, and so they choose Chala. Venus chooses Chala to burn her. By the way, I didn't know this word, a pennant. Uh, I had to look that up. It's basically the flag.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah. When
I
the
have never heard that word.
yeah when baseball teams win their league, they win they won the pennant,
Yeah,
and that's what it is. Yeah.
if we were playing our line game, you also may have thought this was. I looked up a definition. In its literal sense, it's a flag that tapers to a point or a forked
Hmm.
tail and is used for signaling, identification, or decoration. And then there was another bit about in sports. But yeah,
Yeah.
pennant, new to me, had to check out what that actually meant. But it's the flag. So Venus chooses Chala and says, well, I just sort of panicked and Chala was right there. I think Venus shouldn't have picked Chala. Now I'm trying to rethink my thought process, and I've written some notes to myself. I've written probably shouldn't have picked them because because if Chala wins and gets a shield, it kind of doesn't matter because the
Right.
traitors probably aren't likely to murder Chala
Right.
anyway. But Venus, I guess, hadn't really thought any of this through and just goes, you, and
Yeah.
picks somebody. I think as the mission goes on, they get a bit more
Yeah.
judicious about who they're picking. I'll run through the statements. There's not too much to
So
you know talk about.
yeah, I will say that we talked about production. They must have run this by the players. So this is not
Yeah,
the first time they've seen it, because like when you get to it, Kevin got banned from a casino. Well, Kevin's in a lot of casinos. It is possible that he got banned. So production would have to have checked with him to make sure this was actually false.
yeah, yeah.
But the funny thing is, like, when you get to Sarah Nicole's been on 6 magazine covers, she's like, I don't know how many I've been on. And the production's like, that was true. So
Yeah, yeah, that's right. We've got one about Thompson being a DJ in
yeah.
his spare time. Rhea had a mistake I made that ended up in the news, and it's. I don't think we find it's. It turns out that it's. Oh no, it's false.
That one's false
So
for now, because who knows, if she makes a mistake on this show, it could
it's
end up
true.
in the news, and it could be retroactively true and change history.
Absolutely, of course. It sort of feels like Back to the Future or something.
Hmm.
Jamal had a strange childhood ambition to become a plastic surgeon. The black team guessed that it's true, and it is true, which means Jamal's out. Kevin, the casino one, they all guess it's true, but actually it's not true. So
Yeah.
he stays in and gets to choose. He chooses Hollywood. Natalie's is I had an epic fail that went viral. Black team guess it's true. Because and Meredith even has some false and be like, yeah, Natalie told me about this.
Right.
Actually, it's not.
No. Yeah.
So it ends up, Dom is eliminated here. Sarah's the magazine covers. They guess it's true. It is true. Coco, I enjoy reading erotic fantasy novels. The black team kind of know that it's true. Yes, it is true. But it's funny because there's a little bit of confessional here, and Coco says, "Yeah, everybody knew that. I share all these things about myself." But says she thinks that's what helps make her look faithful, is that she's sort of very open. And I thought that's probably quite a good way to play, actually, to not
Yeah.
be to appear too guarded. Meredith is worried that it's going to be something about who she's married to or something like
Which, of
that.
course, it's not going to be. We knew
Yeah,
that.
they're not going to mess.
Yeah.
I am secretly married to another player. It's true. It was I learned to pick locks as a teenager. They guess it's true, but it's not. Lisa goes out. And then it comes back to Natalie, and it's at this point in the game I go, oh right, oh there must be multiple statements about each
Hmm.
person. So I wonder if Meredith at that point thought, oh, shit, maybe something is still going to come up about me. And Natalie's this time is, I've completed 9 half marathons. The black team guess it's true, and it is true. Sean is the only person left on the white team at this point. Omar's turn. I could not tie my shoes until I was 18. Shauna guesses that it's false, but no, it's true. Shaughnessy. I've abbreviated in my notes because I get so bored of spelling Shaughnessy. So I just went to Shaughnessy, yes. It's wrong. Omar really couldn't tie his laces until he was 18. And this means that the black team wins. They, you look like you're shaking your head at Omar here, David.
I all I could think of was he's a veterinarian. He has to like do stitches and stuff. Certainly he knew how to tie before then. But I thought there were better. I thought there were better things that they could have done about Omar. But
maybe they were some of the backup ones that we just didn't get the chance to get to.
Yeah.
They have banked $11,000. By the way, I didn't even remember Karine saying how they win money. So
I think
every time they get one right
per one right. I don't know. Yeah.
They've got 11,000 by the end of it.
Yeah.
And that means that Venus, Kevin, Meredith, Cara, and Omar all get shields. Of course, Kevin's doesn't really matter.
Or Venus.
Nothing. Or Venus's, of course. So really only 3 players out of all of them are going to be protected. Probably not a big deal. And Venus even says, none of these people were going to get murdered anyway. Right. So good for the traitors at the end of this. Not that the faithful know that. It's time for some more manor moments. And Chala and Lisette finally get together for their little chat to clear the air. And it's really funny. My takeaway from this conversation was Lisette is more annoyed at Chala simply mentioning her name than she expects Chala to be for actually voting for her. You talked about main character energy earlier. That may be appropriate here. I don't know.
I mean, we've already seen Lisette gets very defensive when her name is brought up at all, even if it's about being defensive. And so, I mean, yes, we saw her. Oh no, it's later. I'll bring this up later. But yes, it's it's just funny. And then Charlie even says, "Well, my suspicion on you isn't gone."
Yes.
But they clear the air for the moment, and it isn't going to last.
Yes. We also then move to Thompson and Jericho, and they're talking about the suspects. Jericho suspects Coco. Now, of course, we know that's accurate, but I'm not sure why. Like, we don't really get much indication of why Jericho's come to that conclusion. Thompson says he might go for Rhea tonight. And then other people join the conversation. Cara, I've created a new character. Cara and Meredith join the conversation. They've come to spill some tea. They've got a secret. Rhea has an acting background.
A huge, not just an acting background, a huge acting background.
Must be a traitor, no doubt about it. Yes. If someone's an actor, banish them now, of course. Yep. We've seen how this goes. And Jericho takes this straight to Rhea and says, not the acting thing, I don't think, but just that, these other people, they're talking about you. Thompson thinks you might be a traitor, so Rhea's very annoyed about this. Coco and Kevin have a chat about Venus and how they know that some people are talking about her, so they want to help get the suspicion off her. Jericho also brings Coco's name to Hollywood and Kevin in this really weird moment. He thinks that now we get the reason why. He thinks that she's trying too hard to be sort of funny and likable and lighthearted, and talks about how Coco sacrificed a shield in the first mission. So okay, now I get why Jericho thinks this. Kevin then very conspicuously asks them not to tell anyone he was part of this conversation, and that he must immediately leave and go and talk to other people. So Hollywood immediately just goes, well, that's suspicious, which of course it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Yes, I understand the rushing part. We've talked about this before. They have a limited time before the round table happens. He wants to get his ducks in a row. He sees the opportunity. He's been waiting. Someone else brought it up. boom, he can jump on it.
Right.
The part I don't get is him saying, "Don't tell anyone I was in this conversation." Because once we get to the round table, he starts by saying, "So I was in this conversation with Hollywood and Jericho." And so it
Yeah.
makes no sense. And he could have just said, "Okay, this is great. I've heard from a couple other people similar things. Let me go see what they're thinking so we can all get on the same page." There was a way to do this without it coming off so weird.
Yeah. And I wonder if I'm trying to think of a way to defend Kevin. If what he was worried about was I don't want Coco to find out what I'm about to do to her. Well, he could have just said that. He could have said, I think we should
Right.
not let Coco find this out. So
Right.
like if you're gonna talk to others, just make sure it doesn't get back to her. Like give them a reason to understand
Right.
why you're behaving this way. But yeah, just makes himself look very suspicious and odd. He goes straight to Omer and about Coco, and we know that he's spoken to Omer about Coco before, and I think Omer has a pretty good idea of what is actually going on here. And comes to Meredith and Cara too. Tells Thompson, "I'll back you up if you want to go for Coco, and you need the votes. You've got me." Venus is hearing all of this, freaking out because Venus said earlier, "This is too soon to be doing this."
Right.
And we hear I think this is Kevin in his confessional saying, "I'll take out a traitor, and then people will think I'm king of the faithfuls."
Yes. And don't forget, my social game is great. He says that
Yes.
first.
Yes. And I just sort of shaking my head at the screen, thinking, Kevin, 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 have you watched this show? You know what happens when people are so spot on with their pinpointing of a traitor and amazingly are correct when no one else has got a clue what's going. Like this doesn't often go well for people, traitors who do this really early on. So I mean, maybe that's why he should have kept Asphir around. Asphir, as the superfan could have said, this is a really bad idea, but Asphir is gone. And it's time for the round table after this. On the way in, we've got our usual voiceovers and confessionals. Hollywood says, "I don't think y'all are ready for what's about to go down at the table." And Kevin is saying, Kevin says this other thing that's just nuts to me. He says, "I don't want," even this one sentence doesn't make sense. He says, "I don't," and I had to listen to it a couple of times to make sure I wasn't mishearing. "I don't want to get banished, but I want to see if I can win the game." Those two parts of that sentence don't quite go together. And he says, "The only way I can do it is a Coco banishment tonight or tomorrow." And I thought, what? That's the only way you can win? That's not the only way you can win. Like, I don't know why he's come to this conclusion. Karine arrives, she's got the big gold coins, ooh, and is wearing what looks like a recycled Muppet costume of assorted colours put together. Does the usual chat, opens up the discussion. Kevin and Shaughnessy tried to speak at the same time, and Kevin stops her. "No, I want to give you your space because I'm going to come at you in a little bit. I found two traitors." And already I'm just shaking my head going, no, this is not the way to do this.
Yeah.
He talks somewhat, he says he asks everyone just for 4 minutes of their time. He's going to explain it all. He thinks Shaughnessy's a traitor, but he's not going to get her out tonight. I'm like, stop, you can't do this. Even if you're a faithful...
I'm mapping it all out. Here we are.
Yeah. I think even if you're a faithful, you shouldn't sort of reveal your game like that. Like, I think I know who the traitor is, but in fact, we actually saw something really like this in Traitors Ireland that got some players in trouble. Then they were saying, "We knew that person was a traitor, but we were trying to keep them in the game." Like, don't tell everybody that's what you're doing.
Right.
And Kevin comes back to the facts. "I'm going to focus on the facts." And then proceeds to lay out the conclusion that he's come to in the weirdest way ever. He says, "Ty was murdered the first night. Fact one." Okay, yes, that is a fact. And then he says, "Curtis was banished night two." And I thought he was going to say fact two, but that's not fact two. Fact two doesn't come for like another 5 minutes. And Hollywood the whole time's like, "Come on, hurry up."
Well, and when he's doing that, not realizing what Hollywood's about to say, I'm like, Wait, the faithful always talk about wanting facts, and then when someone allegedly gives them, you're like, hurry up already. But no, there was another reason for that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Maybe not these kind of facts. These
Yeah.
like crazy facts. I like to imagine, knowing what I know about Hollywood, it wasn't just hurry up, it was probably a hurry up bitch. And Kevin just continues on his rant saying, I knew when I arrived I would be a faithful because fact, season two had a Big Brother Canada player in the turret. I think Neda was that player.
Yes.
And then says, well, then
Well, it was the
we
first
can
two
spoil it.
seasons.
Yes, we can just talk about spoilers now because there's spoilers in the show. Kevin openly
Right.
reveals that seasons one and two were won by traitors. And I was like, whoa, okay, so if you've not watched the first two seasons, I guess you don't need to now. So we can talk about anything now if they're saying it on the show.
Right.
Only then does Kevin say fact
I wonder
two.
if the people also sent them nasty messages like sitting at their keyboard. I can't believe that you spoiled the Traitors Canada on the Traitors Canada.
Probably. So Kevin now gets to fact two, and I'm making my notes here, going, wait a minute, we're only just on fact two. You've been talking for 5 minutes already. He says, first mission, three people were on that thing. He means like the floating raft in the
Right.
lake. I didn't know what he meant. It took me a minute until they flashed up an image of it or something.
Right. Yeah.
Shaughnessy, Rhea, and Coco. Rhea, I've heard your name come up a lot. I believe you're a faithful. No facts to back that one up. Just throws that out there. And then he singles out Coco. Coco says, me? The other players are like, what? They just don't, no one knows what the hell is going on here. Kevin reveals Coco was a two-time Big Brother player, and she hasn't. He's known this, but he hasn't told, or she hasn't told everybody this. She told him she's the gamer traitor this season, and
Which is basically him saying, not me, not me.
yeah,
Don't look at me. It's her.
it's her. And I thought, you just said. Okay, he said the producers are going down a different route this season. What he meant was, I don't know
Not
what
the
he meant.
exact show. Not the exact show. Not another person from the exact
Right.
show. Which, yeah, I mean, he's right. If I, 3 seasons in a row, and I don't remember who the one from season one was, but 3 seasons in a row with the person from the same show. Yeah, that is a little bit predictable, I will say. So, the meta of it all, I can understand him going in that direction with the meta of it all. Not the way he's approaching it, but yes, I can understand that, And then, of course, he gets to. Do you have the klaxon ready?
Uh, I don't know if I do. Does he say some sort of classic Traitors line? Oh,
He
is
says,
it the "If I'm wrong, vote me out tomorrow"?
yes, you get Coco out, and if he's right, Shaughnessy is next. If he's wrong, they can vote him out next.
Yes, I do have this next. Yeah, of course. He's like, if I'm right, we take out Sean. He knows he's right. We take out Shaughnessy tomorrow. I sort of was trying to, as this was happening and unfolding, I was trying to play out all the different scenarios of like what might actually inadvertently end up happening. So, if I think what Kevin wants to do is like get them all to turn on Coco and believe him and go, oh my God,
Right.
Kevin, you were right. But so that they don't think he's just a traitor who turned on his traitor, that's why he's also picked out Shaughnessy. Because then tomorrow, if they then vote out her and say, yeah, Kevin, you were right about Coco, you must be right about Shaughnessy, but then Shaughnessy reveals, no, I'm a faithful, Kevin can be like, oh, sorry, well, I guess that proves I'm not a traitor because I didn't get that one right, ha ha ha. And they'll be like, oh, I guess maybe Kevin isn't a traitor, he just got one of them right. Like, I think that's his ploy, his long-term, well, not long-term plan, his 2 days ahead plan.
Right.
So after Kevin gets done with all this, Hollywood just says, perfect, are you done with your facts? And picks up on Kevin choosing him in the chess mission to eliminate. And Kevin apparently at the time said, I'll explain this later, but didn't.
Hmm.
Hollywood then brings up Kevin's weird departure from the conversation earlier and the whole don't tell anyone that we talked about this and so on. And Hollywood says, don't dictate to me how to play my game, which I
Yeah,
loved.
I loved it, but it's a little over the top, much like
Oh, it's
Kevin's. I
ridiculous.
mean, it's ridiculous. Don't dictate to me how to play my game. It's like he told you not to say anything to anyone. I mean, it's not, okay, fine.
Well,
But in
I
response,
assumed it was in reference to what's happening right now. Like,
well,
I'm
that
not going to
too,
vote for
yes.
Coco because you're telling me
Well,
to.
that
But
that
it's
too, yes.
Hollywood's
And then
delivery just makes me laugh.
yes, it was good delivery, and it does lead to Meredith saying it seems like you're trying to control the game and you're losing control. It's
Yes.
giving Traitor Unhinging, which,
Yes.
by the way, is a great title for this episode of the podcast. Traitor
Yes.
Unhinging.
Absolutely. And Coco as well is just sort of playing. Well, I'm probably not even having to pretend that hard and says, I don't
Yeah,
even know what you're accusing me of.
yeah,
Like, but you need to explain this more. And he says, well, even right now, you're being too calm. And she's like, I'm not calm. Like, I'm freaking out. Kevin repeats everything that he's already said, but adds in this time, well, also, Coco, you gave up the chance of the shield and the bridge challenge when the two people had to turn round and have the same name and
hmm
all that. Kevin's
and she has
fake.
answers for everything.
Yeah, she's like, well, we both agreed that's what we do. I knew that whoever the other person was wasn't going to give me the shields. And
Right.
Kevin's pretend theory is that I also don't understand this, that Coco is the only person he can see murdering Ty on day one. Like, why? Why is Coco the only person that could conceivably
Yeah.
have done that? I don't know what the logic is. And I just can't imagine everyone else going, oh, yeah, you're right. Coco is the only person who would have done that. Like, that's not really a convincing point, I don't think. Jamal then says, well, what about Shaughnessy? How did you decide that she was, the second traitor and you're going to keep her?
Yeah, I'm sitting here going, well, I know how he decided because
Right, right. And Kevin goes, well, I'm less scared by this.
yeah,
This, like pointing to a human being.
one of the boring people or whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Poor Shaughnessy. And Omer steps in to kind of support Kevin by saying, yeah, I also did think it was weird that Coco was the only gamer on the white team in the chess mission, but, so what, big deal. It doesn't really prove anything.
I think what
But
I think what Omer is doing here, this is just my read based in part on having just watched Celebrity Traders. I think he's smart enough. He knows he needs to say something. He
yeah,
needs to add something to the conversation so nobody comes at him and says, "You didn't say anything in that crazy round table."
yeah,
And which happened to some people on that other show.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that that's he didn't add anything, but he also showed he was part of the conversation.
yeah. And I probably wanted to, in case Kevin survived and Coco did go, make
Right.
Kevin reassured that Omer is playing as part of an alliance with him
Right.
and being on his side.
Yes.
As it turns out, ends up not mattering. Rhea interrupts and wants to know who's spreading her name. She's heard people talking about her. And Thompson owns up and simply says, yeah, you're a really nice person. Everyone likes you. Why weren't you one of the four people put in the coffins? Because, as we now know, those were the boring people. I think that's what he's implying. Like, you're a kind of, if you're just a nice, obvious faithful, why wouldn't they have put you in? Like, I sort of see his thinking, but there's still lots of players in the game. They couldn't put everyone in those four. So,
Yeah, and that gets back to, it's kind of a version of main character syndrome. Like when people come back and say, "Oh, I'm safe because clearly they need me here," or whatever. In this case, it's like, well, it's like Rhea character syndrome. He's by proxy, main character syndrome by proxy. That
right.
that well, clearly you're the most important person here. Why were you not put there?
Right.
How do you defend against that?
Exactly. And he also brings up her acting experience. And she simply retorts by saying, you mean Legally Blonde, the musical, where I was a supporting actress and got a horrible review in the Ottawa Citizen?
Yeah.
And that just sort of seems to shut things down, I think. Shaughnessy now reluctantly comes for Venus and says, she, she says, I don't know if I've written down the sentence right. Something like you were. She says you were day one in the car. I don't know what that means. Have I written that wrong?
I remember something about her
Or you
saying something day one in the car.
day one in the
Yeah.
car? What?
Like she changed since they must have been in the car together on day one,
Yeah,
and she changed after the choosing.
yeah. What I also noticed here was again Shaughnessy's brilliant accent. The way she says car, she says you were day one in the car. Like it's like this Irish sort of lilt. It's great. Venus snaps back and says, "Well, Shaughnessy, you had plenty of time to bring up your issues to me, and you haven't." And I think you've mentioned this before in the pod, like, well, why would you tell someone you think they're a
Right.
traitor?
Yeah.
Like, I think you're a traitor. Prove otherwise. I mean, that's what the round table's for, is it
Right.
not? Rhea then conducts a poll. They all like go along with it. Ask people to raise your hands if you've ever had a one-on-one game conversation with Shaughnessy, and then Venus. I didn't understand where this was going at first, but then I get it. The point is, only like three people say they've talked game with Shaughnessy, like they've talked strategy.
Mhm.
The implication is she's not taking the game seriously or doesn't really need to talk strategy with people because she's a traitor.
Yeah.
So,
Whereas the way I take it is, well, yeah, if you're a traitor, you want to get in every conversation you can to figure out what's happening and to try and steer it. So
oh,
to
it was
me,
the
well,
target of
no,
Venus.
right. To me, it points to
Oh,
Venus, but that's
okay.
Rhea was interpreted.
She's doing the
Rhea was
opposite.
intending it your way.
Yeah,
But if
yeah,
I
yeah.
were there, I'd be like looking at Venus, like, oh, looks like you're the one who has
Hmm.
an issue
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I didn't really know if it helped prove. Yeah. I mean, I
You
know they
win to
have
any
very
of
little
these
to go on, and uh, and shortly after this, well, Shaughnessy has a little bit of sort of begging for her life. Please believe me, I
Yeah.
promise. And it's time to vote. Karine closes discussion. Whilst they're, writing down their votes and we get some confessionals, I'm still thinking about Kevin and what happens if he's wrong, what happens if it works.
Mhm.
And I was again sort of thinking through the possibilities. If they vote out Kevin, which then ends up happening, I thought, wait, if they vote out Kevin, find out that he's a traitor, surely he's kind of just taking Coco down with him. Or if they vote out Shaughnessy and find out that she's a faithful, he's made himself look faithful and say, "Oh, I got it wrong, sorry." But he's also probably inadvertently made Coco look faithful too. Because they'll be like, "Well, you got that one wrong, so what do you know about
Right.
Coco? You've got that wrong too." So he's either like really damaging Coco or really helping her, depending on what happens here. It's a huge gamble, which doesn't pay off.
Yeah.
We get some confessionals quickly before the vote. Rhea saying, "There's so much confusion. I don't know what way I'm going to vote." Does say a funny thing. This is no shade to Rhea. Rhea is listening to the pod, has been in touch, so thank you, Rhea, and has sent nice messages. But Rhea did make me laugh when she said, "The only thing I can be sure of is who I think is going to murder me." It's just such a funny phrase. The only thing I can be sure of is a like speculative thought in my head. She doesn't really been sure of anything. And Omer says, "Tonight I'm voting for who I think is a traitor and who's a threat to my game," which he does do in a way, I guess. So here come
Yeah.
the votes. Jamal votes for Kevin, which I sort of laugh at because I'm already saying, "Ha, you've just made people vote for you." And Natalie votes for Shaughnessy. It's all very mixed at the start. Kevin votes for Coco. Sarah Nicole votes for Kevin. Dom votes for Coco. Thompson votes for Rhea. So kind of split in like four or five
Yeah.
different places here. Coco then votes for Omer, which I thought was
Yeah. I'm
a
like,
bit
what
of a
the
silly
hell?
vote.
Well, yeah. I mean, so to my understanding, silly in UK lingo is basically the same as stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. Because silly here means more like goofy, not, it's more like, oh, the kid's being silly. You wouldn't say the little kid's
Yeah.
being stupid. You'd say, so,
It's
so
can mean both of those things, but it's yeah, like it's a gentle way of calling someone stupid.
yeah, because stupid is the word I would use here for Coco because you know that you're in a fight for your life here. And
Right.
it could come down to one vote. Why would you throw yours away by going an Omer? What?
Right.
What is the point? And on top of that, at least throw a goodbye present to Kevin if you
Right.
end up losing. Then at least you
Yeah.
pointed to him.
Yeah.
I don't understand this vote at all. It makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, it doesn't make a difference, but in terms of numbers. But
Right.
yeah, I thought, shouldn't you go for Shaughnessy or Kevin? Like, they're the other two people who are
Yeah.
probably going to get a bunch of votes. So yeah, like, save yourself.
Yeah.
Just vote with what the majority might be. So that was a bad move, I think. Rhea goes for Thompson. It seems quite random again, although I think they talk about this later.
I mean, both of them are
Car
going against each other at this point.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And yes, yeah, that's right, that's right. It's all coming back to me, and then they talk about kind of teaming
yeah.
up. Cara votes for Kevin and says, well, she says this is based on a comment made to me yesterday, but then we don't find out what that. I don't know what that comment is.
Well, that's because Kevin interrupts and says he makes a
Oh,
joke about being roasted by a housewife, and Kareen slaps him
it's
down.
like no
Nobody
discussion.
can talk but the person who's voting. And it's like, woo.
Yes, yes. Yeah, even Kevin's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Venus gives this sort of weird speech about using your voice, and I didn't even write it down because it was
Yeah.
just sort of felt sort of pointless, a bit performative. Votes for Shaughnessy. Lisette, still on the Chala train, votes for Chala. Meredith is next and votes for Shaughnessy. So we're on a tie between Shaughnessy and Kevin, 3 each. Then it's Chala, votes for
Well, wait.
Lisette.
First, Kareen says, now you're playing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But no, they aren't. Shooting votes around randomly is not playing, it's being unstrategic.
Mm.
So it's like, don't encourage this behavior.
I mean, as a viewer, I like. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not strategic, but it's
Right.
fun to see to not know where the vote's
Yes.
going.
Right.
But yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably not a great idea.
Yeah. And then, like you said, Chala is next voting for Lisette, and Lisette rolls her eyes, even though she literally just voted for Chala.
Yes, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
like, again, it comes back to I can do what I want, but no one can do it back to me.
Yeah, yeah. I might even say it's silly.
Yes.
And Omer votes for Coco, so yeah, this is sort of sticking with Kevin. Now we've got a three-way tie, but the next three votes are all for Kevin. Shaughnessy, Hollywood, and Jericho. And Jericho says this probably wise thing that sometimes the most obvious choice is the right choice, and in this
That's
case,
such a wise thing.
absolutely.
I think I'm going to mention it on our Celebrity Traders UK podcast for
Yeah,
Q&A. I think I'll talk about it there.
you should. Don't you keep that in mind. Don't forget that. Let's come back to it. So Kevin is banished. Here in my notes, I have written idiot. Uh, with
Ouch.
an exclamation mark or
Ouch.
exclamation
Ouch.
point, I should say. Then I don't know if this is fake or a joke.
I don't
He
think
says
so. I
his
think he
hamstrings
just,
hurt so much he can't stand up.
yeah,
Uh,
I think he tightened them up with stress, or I mean, maybe he's a little dehydrated on top of that and just cramped up,
like
from I don't know.
it's not even like today's mission was a really strenuous one. It was the
I mean, but
chest.
Jericho opted out because he was dizzy. So
Yeah,
I
what are
mean,
they doing to these players? Like
I
two
don't
of
know.
them, two of them are like
But
physically ill.
I do
Um,
like how he jokes about, well, they can't banish me. I'm being medically evacuated. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. For when he said that as a joke, part of me thought he was gonna pull some mad stunt and like be carried off out without his speech. Um,
That'd be
he
amazing. That would be amazing. Like as he's being brought out, Kareen's like, "Are you a traitor or faithful?" I can't say. I don't have the
yeah,
energy.
I am a ambulance door shut.
Yeah.
But he manages to stand at least. That's a very short goodbye speech. He says, so some of you were in the right realm because I'm a traitor, baby. Woohoo! They all celebrate. And again, if I was Coco, I would be so pissed off at this point. He's basically thrown me under the bus.
Hmm.
She has a huge hill to climb to get out of this now, I
I
think.
think she's just in shock because one thing that we didn't mention earlier was while he's going around telling us, I need to get rid of her, I need to get rid of her, I need to get rid of her, she's saying in confessionals, oh, it's so great working with Kevin. I've always
I
wanted to work
know.
with Kevin, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking, oh, is she going to be in for the shock of her life? And she was. She was.
Yeah. And even at the end of the episode says something about like really trusting
Yeah.
Venus now, and I don't think Venus is playing with you.
Yeah.
Even though Venus didn't want Kevin to go for Coco yet, I think was
Mhm.
willing to do it eventually. Kevin then leaves, taking sort of speculative credit for the season in case it ends up becoming an all-timer, and literally says, "I'm amazing."
Yeah,
So
and this goes along with what I've been saying. He was there to entertain. You know,
yeah.
if his gambit had succeeded, he'd have been very happy. But he was there for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah, the ego is egoing. There are celebrations and cheers, of course. Karine tells them explicitly that the traitors will have the choice of murdering or recruiting, but gives them a cryptic clue about how the traitors won't be making this decision in the normal way, and says something about making the choice more intimately. I was confused. One of the players
Right.
suggested, is it, or I think Venus says, is it a murder in plain sight again? That's what I wondered. We
It's a
have a little bit,
recruitment in plain sight.
yeah, yeah, exactly. We've got a little bit of a debrief. They all head off for a drink. They're toasting and celebrating. Omer's excited, but he's sad that he's lost his traitor Angel. Coco's bummed out about what's going on. And Omer predictably knows surely Coco is a traitor. That's what was
Yeah.
going on there. And starts passing this on to some of the others, talking about it. Jericho's saying the same thing to some players. Thompson and Rhea then have their discussion. They settle things between them and make a sort of alliance that they'll protect. I've seen this in another season. I don't know if it ever played out all that usefully. They'll pretend that they are still kind of enemies and suspect one another. And I get the thinking. They hope that the traitors will see that and think that's a good reason to not murder them because
Right.
they are creating their own chaos and suspicions on one another. So that's good. So I do understand that. Then it's time for this end of episode twist. The lights are flickering. There's flashes of lightning. There's a bang at the door. I wondered, is Ty back? Is he like risen from the dead and he's come back as some sort of zombie? No, it's well, I thought they were called the Druids because in other seasons we've seen them called that now. Apparently they're called the Betrayed because one of the players says that. They're like, "Ah,
Yes,
the
they said
Betrayed
it
come in."
previously too,
Oh,
but you
okay.
know how you could tell the difference? The druids can afford robes. The betrayed
Yes,
can't.
that's true. Yes, of course. So the poor betrayed come in, they barge their way in, they march towards the players. Oh, they're screaming, they're running, and they're taken off to the cemetery again, where they are all blindfolded. Karine tells them, if you take off your blindfold, you will instantly be murdered. And the
And
traitors,
I'm like, is she talking about in the game or like literal? Because she says it so seriously. I'm like, woo. And remember, this is a woman who has kicked someone out of the game before.
oh yes,
We
that's right,
have seen
yes.
this happen.
Yes, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yes, I like how much they're threatened here. It's fun, and our two traitors, Coco and Venus, are brought to the front silently. They take off their blindfolds. It's so I don't know how I feel about this. I don't really know what the point of this all is. They basically have to. It's like playing a game of werewolf or something, like where you
Yeah.
just people have got their eyes closed and you just have to like quietly point at one
Mhm.
another. So there's lots and lots of pointing and shaking heads, and Venus and Coco are trying to figure out who to send back to the manor and who to keep around. It goes on for a long time. And we're finally left with Thompson, and he's told that he'll have a chance to beg for his life, still with his blindfold on, of course. Tells the traitors he's got no idea who they are. I said, he, I don't know if I followed him properly. He said he was trying to manage his murder threat level today. Totally know what he means there. And then basically says he does really want to win the game though, and he'll be happy to help them as a traitor to make that happen.
Yes.
And Karine asks the traitors to decide what will they do, murder him or recruit him, and the episode ends.
Now, one thing that was funny in this whole scene was Hollywood was like outwardly signaling he wants to be recruited, like he's crossing his fingers and da 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 da, which is not something you can normally do for a recruitment. You can
Yeah.
make it clear in other ways, maybe, but you're always taking a risk that other people will see you. In this case, there's no risk involved here,
Yeah, that's
other
a good point.
than But personally, after the way he just viciously turned on Kevin, if I were a traitor, I wouldn't pick him to recruit. I might pick him to murder, but there's no way I'd pick him to recruit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, we can talk about our predictions in a minute.
Yeah.
Did you? My feeling is that, okay, apart from what you suggested, you've got a chance to signal to the traitors. It's your chance to show them that you want to be picked or don't want to be picked. But other than that, I don't know if I care about this little twist. I don't know who it's helping. I don't know what it's adding to the game.
I think it adds a visual element to it that's
Yeah,
different,
yeah.
which is what most of the twists have been. And that's why I like them.
Okay.
It's not changing the game in any real way. Yes, they can't talk, they can't go over, whatever. But it adds a new element to the way we watch it.
Sure.
And that's the type of twist I appreciate. They're not trying to break the game, but they are trying to make it visually different.
Yeah. And that was my note to myself, was other than for visual dramatic effect. So
Right.
yeah, well, I guess it was cool to see them in the cemetery and it's all smoky and misty and what's going to happen? I guess I just missed the fact, and Coco says this, they don't really know. They're nodding and shaking their heads, and she doesn't know what Venus means, and Venus doesn't know what she means. So I guess I just missed them theorizing and strategizing. Who should we pick? Why should we pick this
Right.
person? So you kind of missing that.
I think we'll get it later. I think in next week's
Yeah, I guess so.
episode, they'll be like, well, we decided to murder/recruit Thompson because.
Yeah. So what do you predict? Will they recruit him or murder him?
I think they'll murder him
Ooh,
because
okay.
Venus has been wanting him gone. And I at this point, I think he's too much of a faithful to keep around as a traitor. Now, you might say, well, that's a good thing. But no, you don't want to recruit someone who looks more faithful than you do.
Yeah.
And so at least now, is it possible they'll screw up and recruit him? Yeah. But at the very least, I think they should murder him.
Yeah, I think they should murder him, but and you've now convinced me that maybe that is what they'll do. I predicted they'll panic and recruit him. I only because I got this sense that they were so confused, especially Coco, and kept saying like, I don't know what Venus wanted. We couldn't talk to each other. We couldn't say anything out loud. I wonder if they'll just sort of panic and go, okay, let's recruit him because they don't really have the chance to talk about why that's a bad idea. So,
Which is another reason they should murder him. Find someone you don't care about either way. Sorry, Thompson. And murder him. And then you can talk tomorrow when you will have another opportunity to recruit someone and can discuss it. So
that's
yes,
true.
if they choose to recruit him, you're right. It is done out of panic.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll stick with that guess. I think it's the wrong decision, but for the fun of it, I'll guess they will recruit, and we'll be confused next week.
Okay.
We both got our banishment wrong. We both thought it might be Hollywood last time. I'm now veering far away from Hollywood. I don't think Hollywood's is going
No,
to face banishment. I think has sort of proven themselves as a real traitor hunter.
yeah. I mean, the previews suggest Omer is trying to gather forces against Coco, and she's going to try turning it around on him at Round Table. I really hope she's unsuccessful, and I think she will be. There are just too many other people, and you didn't even list all the people when you were going over it who came to the same conclusion beyond just Omer. So I really do think you're right, and Kevin screwed Coco's game, and she's gone next.
Yeah, I feel like that's the the sensible, like, surely the faithful are going to realize that why else would Kevin have picked this one faithful to pick on and get rid of her? Like, how would that have helped him? So it seems like surely they realize she's a traitor and they're going to go
Mhm.
for her. However, just for fun, and because faithful do wild things in this game, and within the space of 24 hours, forget incredibly obvious things that have happened. I wonder if Coco will somehow talk her way out of it and they go for Shaughnessy
Yeah.
and think, well, she was the other person that Kevin mentioned. So, like, and some of them were suspicious of her anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Shaughnessy might end up getting
Okay.
banished instead of Coco. Although I'm sure I cannot see Coco like winning at this point because of what's
No.
happened.
No. No.
Uh,
No. No. Coco.
yes, no, no, Coco. Maybe that's a good title for the episode.
I like mine better. Well, either way,
What was your other suggestion? I need to remember to.
Traitor Unhinged.
Traitor Unhinged. Yes, that's the title of this episode, of course. We only I have I don't need, I have a listener comment rather than a listener question, but it's something that maybe you will know more about than I do, David. You're more familiar with some of these players. Blue Devils on YouTube says, I think we have to remember that Kevin and Omar are real life friends, acquaintances at the least, through RHAP. So,
Hmm.
what is the connection between Kevin and Omar?
I don't know for sure. I mentioned, I believe, at the very beginning that Kevin does some work with RHAP, and Omer often guest hosts. He's been a
Mm,
guest on my podcast on RHAP. So I'm sure that there have been gatherings that they've both been at. Other than that, I don't know. I couldn't even tell
okay.
you if they live in the same province. Canada's a big country. I don't know. It's not something I've definitely looked into. So they know each other for sure,
Yeah,
but beyond
yeah,
that, I couldn't say.
yeah. And I guess in this game, if you at
Hmm.
least have an acquaintance with someone, it makes you more
Right.
likely to kind of team up
I
with
mean,
them,
it's not
perhaps.
like they're married or anything. So
Yeah, that would be weird if
yeah,
that happened on this show.
yeah.
Uh, We hopefully will have some more listener questions on this episode. So if you've got thoughts about episode 4, something that David and I have completely missed, or you feel we've misinterpreted, or you've got some wild hot take, controversial opinion, send it our way. I'll tell you how you can do that in a moment. For now, David, how can we find you? Oh well, do you have overall thoughts on the episode, and
Yes,
then you
yes.
can lead us into your social media and where we can find you.
So if I were doing one of my Y blank lost evaluations, I would say that Kevin clearly played too hard, too fast, and there was no reason to do it,
Mm.
except he let his emotions interfere. Now, I'm not really sure which emotion it was. Was it anger at Coco for the whole tie situation, as he had indicated?
Mm.
Or was it that he just wanted to have fun and be chaotic because he believed there was no way he could win at the end and they'd figure him out eventually? I mean, even if he had succeeded and Coco was banished, it would have come back around to him at some point with people realizing he was way too sure about it. And so this was a doomed move from the start.
Yeah.
Entertaining, for sure, but not based on good strategy. And if he came in thinking he could never win because of who he is, I mean, he may be right. That can happen with a big name player, whatever show you're in. And I mean, like if I'm there, let's say I'm on this show and there's Kevin. I'm never going to the end with him.
Yeah.
Never, never. It's just too much of a risk. And we know from what we saw that Omer was playing a Trader's Angel strategy with him and would have taken him out as well. So yeah, he's never winning the game. So let's have fun playing. And I think that he did believe he could pull it off, and he was wrong, obviously. If it were me, I'd still try to stay in as long as I could.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted something big, and he'd been trying to find a way to go after Coco. And then when Hollywood and Jericho mentioned that to him, he was like, ding, 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 ding. Now's the time to make my move because someone else brought it up. And that's the thing. When he said, don't tell anyone that I was in this conversation, I thought he was going to be like, well, I have heard people saying Coco's name, And I also wanted to add to that,
Hmm.
but no, he just dropped it right in there that he was talking to them. So yeah, I from a game perspective, did he handle it well? No, no, not at all.
Yes. And I I have one final thought about Kevin and Traitors in general. I may or may not have received a message today from a former podcast guest co-host, lots of you will be familiar with, saying that Kevin is their least favorite player ever. So I, I don't know if he's my least favorite ever, but I found he made himself appear quite unlikable. I'll say that. And yeah, my takeaway from this is absolutely Kevin just went too hard, too fast, trying to turn on another traitor, and it was a disaster. And I just what we watched Celebrity UK recently. We had Traitors Ireland, Traitors India wasn't so far ago, maybe 4 months ago or something. And across all of these different seasons we're watching, something I realize is almost always true, I think, is traitors, turning against one another and discord in the turret and arguments and infighting just never leads to a good outcome for the traitors. And we always acknowledge that being a traitor is an advantage position. You're probably going to do better in the game as a traitor, but you have to also work with your team to really
Right.
make it all the way to the end. If you are plotting against your fellow traitors early on, I've never seen that play out well. You're probably going to have to turn them on them eventually, maybe
Right.
towards the end, yes. But first half of the season, you're already trying to get rid of them and spread rumors about them, and I don't think it ever ends well for the traitors, and I think future traitors should keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing is some people get it in their head. Well, and he even said, well, I have to get Coco before she gets me. He's not privy to the thoughts in her head. He doesn't know that she loves the idea of working with him. And yes, you do have to think about that. Like, I have to make a move before they do. The question is when. And you're right. I think now is too soon. When is just a matter of feeling. But when you haven't heard a peep indicating she's coming after you, then leave it alone.
Yes. And David, where can we hear more of these wonderful, insightful thoughts and observations that you've just offered us?
Well, I am all over social media where I talk about these things a lot, and reality TV podcasting. I am with you, like momentarily or maybe moments past, to discuss the Celebrity Traders UK season question and answer. That'll be out right around the same time as this, I would imagine.
Yes.
And of course, in addition to being here, I'm podcasting every week about the reasons each Survivor 49 player was voted out in my Why Blank Lost series on RHAP and its 10th anniversary season. Plus, I have TikTok and YouTube videos for the Traitors Canada, Celebrity Traders, Survivor, Squid Game, you name it. I'm at David Bloomberg TV at, like I said, TikTok and YouTube. And you could find all my various accounts at Linktree/David Bloomberg.
And that link tree address is right below in the episode description. As for the podcast, you can keep up to date with Traitors news, updates, occasionally little videos from me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Trader Podcast. And you can send me questions on those platforms. You can leave comments, especially on YouTube, see what other listeners are thinking of the show. You can also send me questions and thoughts by email at thetradarpodcast@gmail.com or leave a voice note at memo.fm/thetradarpodcast, and you can be the star of the podcast for, maximum 2 minutes. You can't leave voicemails any longer than that, sorry. And it's really helpful to subscribe and leave a nice review or a star rating wherever you're listening or watching: Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, and so on. You can support the podcast in a couple of ways, help us keep it going. You could buy some lovely Traitors merch, or Tradar merch, I should say. Not Traitors merch, I'm not flogging unofficial merch, at thetradar.redbubble.com. Or if you just wanted to put in a one-off one-off donation of your choosing, you can visit the ko-fi.com page. That's ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. And I thanked them in our other episode, but I'll thank them again. Pete and Tim sent us lovely donations this week, so that was very kind of them. They may be listening to this episode too, so thank you. Normally this is where I conclude the Trade Our Traitor, but we weren't playing it. We're going to keep that for later in the season. David, thank you so much. It's been fun as always. We will be back same time next week pretty much to talk about episode 5. Thank you listeners for joining us. Until then, laters traitors.
And stay traitorous.